Board of Directors of the Midpeninsula Regional Open Space District. I am Margaret McNiven, President of the Board of Directors. This meeting is now called to order. It is 6 p.m. This meeting is being held in person at the district's administrative office and by teleconference. Members of the public can attend and participate in the meeting in person or via Zoom. Instructions for submitting public comments are available on the meeting agenda. May we have roll call, please?
Director Gleason?
Here.
Director Riffle?
Here.
President McNiven?
Here.
Director Holman? Here. Director Kishimoto? Here. Director Sear?
Here.
Thank you, all present with the exception of Director Kirstine Tucker.
The agenda item 1 for the special meeting is the annual bond disclosure training for the Board of Directors, members of the Disclosure Working Group, and contributors. Over to you.
Yeah. Okay. How about that? You all heard me though, right? Okay. You can tell it's a new year because I'm here to speak with you. As it has been the practice in the past, my name is Jackie Jennings. I am a partner at Arent Fox Schiff, and we are your disclosure counsel. And annually, we provide you with training of your disclosure liabilities under the federal securities laws. There's a couple of reasons that we do this. Things change, but fortunately, since last year, they haven't changed a whole lot. But that because the district issues securities generally in the form of bonds, you are within the rubric of the securities laws, and we want to make sure that you are all abreast so that, not that I ever expect anything to go wrong, but you need to know what you need to know so that when you see it, you can bring it to our attention and to Hillary's attention. First up, the SEC has started to, well, not started, but since 2013 has been increasing the enforcement of their actions and their review of municipal issuers. And the reason for that, or at least the articulated reason for that, is that they want to encourage municipal issuers to be transparent in your financial and operating reporting because that information is important to purchasers of your debt. You know, one of the questions a lot of municipal issuers will ask is, well, why do we have to do this at all? Being able to issue debt in the public markets is a privilege, not a right. And because your investors, the purchasers of your debt, they have rights under the federal securities laws. And so you are required to disclose all material information that an investor would need to make an informed decision to hold, sell, purchase your debt. These securities laws that that you are required to adhere to came about through tragedies. The 1929 stock market crash, 1930, and what happened was, as most of you know, in 1929, there were a lot of people, unsavory folks out there that were selling securities, and there was nothing backing them. There was nothing more, no disclosure to investors other than, this is a great stock, this is a great security, you'll make a mint. And out of that, after the stock market crash, they started to look at and go behind some of the disclosures or lack thereof for these securities. And it was realized that, you know, people are, as they call them, floating stocks out on market, and the people just have no information at all. And so in 1933, they came up with the Securities Act of 1933. And while I'm talking about this, you'll notice I'm talking about stocks. this whole issue with the stock market crash and the Securities Act of 1933 and the Securities Exchange Act of 1934 doesn't have anything to do with bonds, and even so, it doesn't have anything to do and address directly municipal issuers. In 1934, the Securities Exchange Act was enacted, and under that act, there were two things that are very important for our purposes. It's Section 10B and Rule 10B-5 enacted under Section 10B, and Rule 15C-212, and we'll talk about each of those in turn. The 1933 Act requires an issuer of stocks to disclose all material information necessary for investors to make an informed investment decisions. And that's supposed to be based upon real data. And they want transparency in the market. And this is all in connection with the primary offer and sale of securities. The secondary goal of the 33 Act is to protect investors from misrepresentation and fraud. The stated aim at that time was to correct past wrongdoings, including insider trading, manipulative trading to drive up share price, because all of that was leading to exploitation of the public and confidence in the markets. And over the years, you have heard and you have seen that various bad actors have been charged with offenses of the 33 Act and the 34 Act, like last year. It still happens. The 33 Act specifically governs the registration of securities. While the district issues debt, it's municipal, their municipal debt, and municipal debt, believe it or not, is exempt from registration under the 33 Act. The 33 Act also prohibits deceit, misrepresentation, and fraud in the sale of the securities, and it imposes civil liability for materially misleading disclosure. And the last point, it also requires that investors receive financial and other significant information relevant to the securities prior to the purchase. Under the 33 Act, there is a Section 17 that is relevant to us. It's the anti-fraud provisions. And you're going to see a lot of terms that are very similar in the 33 Act and the 34 Act, because they all are focused on preventing fraud, preventing deceit, and our Section 17 just basically says it is unlawful for you, a person, in the connection with the offer or sale of any securities, from taking that money from a potential investor by means of an untrue statement, basically fraud. You're not supposed to engage in any course of business that's designed to deceive or defraud a purchaser of securities. And the Section 17 of the 33 Act is similar to Rule 10b-5, which we'll talk about, under the 34 Act, which we will talk about. But the difference is that it doesn't require a particular intent to deceive. If you can just establish that the person was negligent in failing to disclose information, that can be sufficient for a 1933 Act violation. The 1934 Act, this is called the Exchange Act because it established the SEC, and it gave the SEC broad authority to regulate, register, and oversee securities transactions. And SROs, self-regulatory organizations such as the MSRB, they have authority to regulate the actions of underwriters, broker firms, and clearing agents, but not the issuers of municipal securities. They do something a little bit tricksy in how they get these rules to apply to municipal issuers, and we'll talk about that in a sec. So what the 34 Act also does is it requires disclosure of information to investors in the secondary market. And that means like when the district goes into the market, you enter into a purchase contract or a purchase agreement with a municipal bond underwriting firm. That's a primary market. The secondary market is when the underwriters sell those bonds to the public at large. The 33 Act also created the MSRB and required specific filings. There's also under the 33 Act, we have Section 10B, Rule 10B5, and Rule 15C212. And Rule 10B5 and 15C212 is kind of where we live when we're in the municipal area. The Section 10B makes it illegal for anybody to directly or indirectly use or employ a manipulative or deceptive device or contrivance in connection with the purchase or sale of any security. Under Rule 10B, there is, excuse me. Under the Exchange Act, we have Rule 10B5. And 10B5, as you recall, when we were talking about the 33 Act and Rule 17, and I know this is really dry, but it is very important for you to understand. The difference, as we talked about with Rule 17, is you don't have to have any particular intent. If you are negligent, you can establish liability under this Rule 17. Rule 10B5 requires scienter, and scienter is a legal term of art that means you have knowledge or willful intent to defraud, or recklessness, which is similar to negligence, but not exactly. Recklessness is a little bit worse, that it shows an extreme departure from the ordinary standards of care and business practices. Rule 10B5 makes it illegal for you to defraud or deceive someone directly or indirectly with respect to the sale or purchase of a security. The most important thing is that second, I want to say it's bullet, but it's really a diamond, I guess, is the language that you will hear in connection with the issuance of your securities, and that you will see in, if you're looking in the transcripts, the opinions that get delivered in connection with the issuance of bonds. It talks about making any untrue statement of a material fact or omitting to state a material fact necessary in order to make the statements made in light of the circumstances under which they were made not misleading. Probably not going to win any awards for, prolific prose, but basically it's like, it was when I in my other life, before I became a lawyer, I would tell myself, don't lie, tell the truth. Tell people everything they wanted, that you think that they would want to know or they need to know in connection with the issuance of your securities. Rule 10B5 also prohibits you from engaging in any act, practice, or course of business that operates or would operate as a fraud or deceit. As I said, a lot of these words are very similar to each other, and it's intentional. The 34 Act was meant to augment and catch anything that was left out of the 33 Act, because they're actually covering different types of transactions. And neither of these types of transactions have anything to do with you, but we're going to get to how it does. And that would be Rule 15C212. We were talking about two securities laws that were enacted in the 1930s. It wasn't until 1989 that Rule 15C212 was put in place. And it, again, doesn't have anything to do with you as an issuer. It has to do with preventing underwriters, the people to whom you sell your bonds in the primary market pursuant to that initial bond purchase or bond purchase agreement or contract. It's to prevent them from engaging in fraudulent, deceptive, or manipulative acts. So this is where you start to come in, and you just kind of go, so what does that have to do with us? We're not committing the fraud. Well, since the SEC does not have authority to regulate your behavior directly, but they can regulate, as we said earlier, the behavior of underwriters. And you don't have an access to the market unless you engage underwriters. So what they did is in 1994, they said, okay, I know, here's what we'll do. We'll say, underwriters, you can't buy the bonds from an issuer unless you have a contract with them. They contractually agree to provide continuing disclosure. Nice, problem solved. We are not regulating you, we're regulating the underwriters. So in 1994, you started to see, in connection with new issuances, continuing disclosure agreements, sometimes described in the generic sense of a continuing disclosure undertaking, a CDU. And so since that time, anytime you issue bonds, you enter into a new CDU that says, we will provide certain information annually on a date certain, by a date certain, of certain information. And the reason for that was that prior to 1994, if you went out and you looked at the bonds that the district had offered in 1987, and you decided in 1990 that you wanted to buy it, the only document that you had that disclosed all the material, operating and financial information for the district would have been that original official statement from 1990. That's it. That's all there was. I mean, if you were quite intrepid, I guess you could go in and ask to see, because remember, this would have been before everything was available online. You could ask the issuer, I'd like a copy of your financial statements. And you could get them, but it wouldn't be as timely as we would like. It wouldn't be as speedy as we would like. So with the 1994 amendment of Rule 15C212, it says, okay, issuers, here's what you're gonna have to do. At most, the minimum you're gonna need to do is provide an annual report that updates the financial and operating information. Use your official statement as a guide as to what that information is, but most of it is already in your audited financials. And you will then provide that annual report by a specific, on a specific timeline, at most 210 days from the end of your fiscal year. They would like it to be sooner, but that hasn't happened yet. And then you also contractually obligate yourselves to provide notices of the occurrence of certain specified events. And you will do that within 10 business days following the occurrence of that event in general. And then you will also are going to file notices when you fail to file any of this information timely. And then in 2010, the Rule 15C212 was amended, and so that it applied to variable rate debt too. And then in 2018, they also added a new provision that said you're going to have to tell the investing public when you incur, accelerate, terminate, or modify any financial obligations that occurred after February 27, 2019, and that's something that has to be done within 10 days of the incurrence, acceleration, or termination. You're continuing, okay, that's one of your continuing disclosure certificates. The document that you're going to enter into when you issue that debt, it is included as an exhibit to the official statement. So the world can see, here's what you said you're going to do. Here's when you said you're going to do it. And the document itself is to provide everybody in the world with notice of, here's what we've agreed to do. And your obligation under this agreement will remain as long as those bonds, the associated bonds, are outstanding. Prior to 2009, it was kind of a nightmare as to where you're supposed to make these filings. You can make them with, a state agency. California didn't have one. With the MSRB, doing that was kind of like that last scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was there, but all the information was very difficult to find. Since 2009, the MSRB established this a portal where all the information for everybody, anybody who issues debt, municipal debt, can be located. You can find out all kinds of interesting things. You can find out the latest trades, what their bonds are trading at. You can look at all of their financial information from the current year. Historically, you can see all of the filings that each municipal issuer has made. And then in 2010, the SEC again repeated its longstanding position that Rule 10b-5 about fraud and deceit, prohibiting that also applies to anything that you file in connection with continuing disclosure. So your continuing disclosure, your 10b-5 obligation doesn't end with the issuance of your official statement. It goes on and on until those bonds are defeased. So what are the elements of your continuing disclosure undertaking? It has a section of definitions. It discloses what exactly it is going to be in your annual report. It talks, obviously your audited financial statements. It will talk about and disclose what specific operating information and maybe charts and tables that you will be updating annually. The date on which your annual report will be filed. It lists all the 16 specified events and the required dates for notices of the occurrence of those specified events, amendment procedures, and that's basically everything that it covers. We try very, very hard to make sure that all of the district's continuing disclosure agreements are fairly more or less the same. We don't try, unless there's something that was of particular interest and concern, the actual information, in addition to your audited financial statements that you are required to update, stays pretty consistent. And this, I'm not going to read this to you, but I suggest that you take a look. What I did here is, here's a list of all of the 16 specified events. Some you are required, the ones that are highlighted in blue or turquoise, whatever that is. Mine, here it's blue. You're going to report those regardless of whether it's material or not. If it happens, you report it. You got 10 days. For the ones that say if material, first of all, you have to go through and determine, did this occur? And is the occurrence of this event material? And we're going to go through and talk about what is material. Material is there a substantial likelihood that a reasonable investor would consider that information important in making a decision to purchase, sell, or hold your securities? Or is there a substantial likelihood that, given the entire mix of information, that reasonable investor would have considered this important enough to alter that mix of information and their decision to purchase your securities? There's a lot of case law out there to assist you in determining, well, was this material, was it not? I mean, you could have an issuer where there was a $2 million charge unusual charge to them. Well, if they're, you know, a $500 million enterprise, is that $2 million material or not? Reasonable minds can differ, but that's an exercise in which you have to engage. There isn't a set checklist of defining materiality. I don't want to say you're on your own, but you have very good legal counsel, and you have retained very good outside professionals, and we will help you work through any of those types of questions. As I said, the guidance that we get on what is and what isn't material comes from case law, SEC enforcement actions. But again, the SEC is very clear that just because we did it before and we determined that this particular act was material doesn't mean it will be or won't be in the future. So now that we've gone through kind of the history of where all this disclosure law came from, when does it apply? When do you have to employ these techniques? Whenever you speak to the market. And the market generally, most people think of, oh, that's our offerings documents, our official statements or offering memoranda. We now know from the SEC also your annual reports. Anything that you file on EMA, which are the notices of occurrence of specified events. Any investor communications, for example, when you issue bonds and then we decide we're in the marketing stage and we decide to do a roadshow. We have the disclosure laws apply then. Public statements, this is the hard one. Public statements made by the district, its officials, including in press releases, public statements, interviews, website, social media, speeches. A lot of times you won't see that in advance, but the important thing is to encourage full, fair, accurate disclosure in all of those venues. Anything that is said on behalf of the district that you reasonably expect or a person could reasonably expect will get to the investing public. Disclosure laws apply to that. So be forewarned, but there hasn't been, to my knowledge, any problems with you all. You guys are, you tend to be very clean, and that's, whew, I'm really happy about that. So how do you stay compliant? What are the considerations? I mean, one of the things is that, you know, disclosure is not static. Each time you go into the market, we want to help you avoid, as we can call it, disclosure bloat. There is a tendency to just say, okay, here's what we did a year ago. Let's just update the numbers and we're good to go. It's hard, but we need to look at it with fresh eyes. We want to make sure that we are addressing current concerns. For example, I was looking back on some official statements. We had, I don't know why we had them. We had hard copies of them, and I wanted to get rid of them because the bonds had been defeased. So I just went back and I was looking through the risk factor section, and we had like pages of year 2000 concerns, you know, that what could happen, you might not get paid on time. And it was just like, we spent so much time crafting this disclosure for a non-event, but at the time, none of us knew that. And so, yes, we're past the year 2000, but at what point do you take that out? And that's one of the things that even currently, when we're looking at the official statement, we need your assistance in determining, you know, is this still relevant? I mean, we try and do, you know, weasel through your website to get everything that's current and up to date, but you're in the best position to let us know that. Current concerns that everybody is looking at right now is climate-related financial risks, and those have to do with physical risks to your assets, could be to your building, and also transitional risks. In some instances, you may actually have made certain determinations about, well, yes, we know that we are in a fire area, and don't worry, we have all that. That is in your official statements about the risk of wildfire, drought, pestilence, all of that is in there. But we need to bring it all together. It's like, well, what could that do to your tax base? We have that in there too. Another thing that's important is looking at right now is cybersecurity, preparedness, breaches. There's a lot of attacks going on for public entities. I know that my local library was attacked a couple years ago. The good news was because there wasn't enough money in the budget, they were basically air gapped. So any information that anybody got by attacking the library, there wasn't anything there to get. So that was great. They thought they were going to be able to get through the library into the county's like accounting system and things like that. And they worked with the FBI and everything was cool. But also it was, it was a soft target, and the bad actors are looking for soft targets. And you guys are considered a soft target. ESG, effects of any other natural disasters on revenues, any pension obligations you may have. Again, trying to review all of your disclosure with fresh eyes. If the occurrence of an event raises concern, or if you know of something, you should speak with Hillary and let her know. And go through the discussion of why this isn't material or why it is, and then we will help craft language to make that disclosure for your next offering document. Tell the full story. Don't leave people hanging. Let them know this is what happened. This is what we did. This was the result. And then don't ignore your obligations under Rule 10b-5 of the 1934 Act. You are required to have a written disclosure policy. I'm going to skip. Oh, I got time. Sort of. Okay. The important thing is with your disclosure, you want to be consistent in how you go about it. You should adopt written disclosure policies and procedures. You should provide regular training to staff and officials, focus on the big picture. Again, disclose the full complement of what's going on, and retain knowledgeable counsel and professionals. Pardon me. There's an important reason for doing this. As we said, the SEC does not have a checklist, and if you ask for one, they're not going to give it to you. They say, you figure it out. However, if you have written policies and procedures and you follow them each and every time, the SEC doesn't second guess whether or not those were reasonable. So you actually have a reasonable disclosure policy. It was in policy 306, and it's done. It is a policy, and these disclosure policies, yours might be similar to another issuer and another entity, but it won't be identical, because the important thing is you need to look at your disclosure policy and how it works for you. Because sometimes I have seen policies for issuers where they were advised, this is a great disclosure policy. And you go, yeah, it is, except for this came from a city where you have a finance department that has 40 people in it. This does not work for a small issuer where the entire finance department is 1.5 people. For example, you have a disclosure working group. For that very small entity where they have 1.5 people, it still would say something. You're gonna establish a disclosure working group compiled of comprised of the GM, the CEO, the CFO. They don't even have any of those. And so they're already in violation of their policy because they don't have the people to staff those various working groups. So your policy actually has taken that into consideration, and it establishes a working group with people in holding offices that actually exist. And it designates your finance manager as the disclosure coordinator. It specifies what it is the various members of the disclosure working group are supposed to look at and do. It does require annual disclosure training. It establishes a procedure for reviewing and approving all your official statements before they get submitted to the board of directors. Establishes a process for complying with your continuing disclosure obligations and a list of those 16 specified events. You have a document retention policy in there. It has the template of information that's to be included in the staff report that transmits the official statement to you when we're going to go to market. So what happens if you don't follow any of your disclosure obligations and you just say, yeah, we signed this CDU, and then you get the money, you build the project, or you don't, and you're ready to go to market again? What happens? Because remember, the SEC can't do anything to you, but they can prohibit not just the underwriters that you work with currently, all of them, unless they can establish that you have complied with your prior continuing disclosure obligations. They can't underwrite your bonds. So effectively, you can't go to the public market. But there are fixes for that. But the possible consequences for disclosure violations, depending on how heinous they are, SEC can start an investigation. They can bring enforcement actions against individuals. You'll have adverse publicity, which could make it difficult for you to enter into the public markets and sell your debt. There can be personal liability on individuals. There can be fines against individuals, lifetime bars from future municipal finance transactions. You can go to jail. There can be injunctions. There can be a requirement to retain professionals. And by that, I mean, there is an issuer of which I am aware that they had issued debt and they had not actually produced any audited financial reports in about 5 years. And they just kept issuing debt, and they did it. And the SEC finally came in and they said, you guys, it's kind of like a consent decree. You have to go hire someone who is competent to actually go through, provide you with this type of training, and who is going to actually review, scrutinize, and assist you in preparing your official statements and your annual reports and your notices of events for the next 5 years. And this is at your expense. Again, you could have reduced market access, imposition of new procedures and outside oversight to settle SEC actions, similar to what I just described. And also, most importantly, rating downgrades, which could trigger a whole bunch of things, depending on what kind of other outstanding debt you may have. It also will, if you are downgraded, it also increases your cost of funds. So that is something with which you should be concerned with. In 2010, the SEC created our own special public finance abuse unit to address misconduct in the municipal markets. Their focus is offering and disclosure fraud, tax and arbitrage-driven fraud, pay-to-play, and public corruption. A lot of issues with public pension accounting and disclosure violations. They're looking at conduct by municipal issuers. One of the things that you will see in your official statement, we have sections that talk about, I don't want to say that talk about your municipal your municipal advisor and who it is they represent, and that they're being paid from they either are or are not being paid from the proceeds of the bonds, because that could be an inherent conflict. It says in the section that talks about your bond counsel, your disclosure counsel, that we're all getting paid from the proceeds of the bonds, which again, if the bonds don't get issued, we don't get paid. So that could influence someone to disclose or not disclose any information that would make it more difficult to sell the bonds. There's some examples, and I put in an appendix just summaries of some of these cases. I am always amazed at it's like, and you thought this was okay. Because to me, it's mind-boggling that anybody would try and sell bonds and actually include the financial statements, but they're from 3 years ago. And it's like, no one at the table said, huh, this doesn't look good. Not disclosing that the project that a project that you are trying to build, the construction budget that is presented in the official statement has nothing to do with reality, that you're millions or billions of dollars over budget. Not to tell people that. The most heinous thing that is the SEC is like, tell people what's going on. Remember we talked about the good and the bad. It's like, we're big people, we can handle it. Tell us what the real story is. A lot of times in the county of Nevada and the town of Ramapo, they were doing some Mello-Roos type financings, and they went through and said, like in California, it's required for you to have a 3-to-1 ratio of the value of the land to whatever the debt is that's being issued. And the value of the land is based upon appraisals, because in most cases it's bare land, you're developing it for housing developments. The thing is that in the past, long before California had a rule on this, the developers were the ones who got to hire the appraisers. And so they would say, we want to issue $10 million worth of bonds. The appraiser says, oh, okay. And miraculously, that land would have a $30 million appraised value. So that doesn't happen anymore. But in the county of Nevada, there was an appraisal that showed that the value of the land was much less than what was being shown in the official statement. And that was a problem. I mean, that is a fraud. It is deceit. And you're just kind of going, in what world did you think that this was okay? And so as long as you have, all of you, the collective you, have used your own eyes, your own reasonableness, your own judgment in looking at all of this information, you'll probably be fine. I mean, the basic compliance tips are make sure that each and every time you follow your disclosure policies and procedures. Always attend disclosure training. Review all of the documents that are presented to you. If you see anything in there that you just go, that doesn't look right to me, raise that issue. Ask questions. Make me and make us explain it so that when you read it, when we give it back to you and we've made revisions to the disclosure, it makes sense and reflects the facts as you know it. And now for questions. None. If you think of some, send them to Hillary. Hillary will send them to me and we'll get answers back to you. Yes.
This has to do with just a statement that you made that it kind of makes me curious. You said that we are considered a soft target from a cybersecurity.
Yeah.
What?
You're a soft target. The harder targets are like true government, state and local governments. And it's because they tend to have larger staffs. They have like their finance staff is enormous. And so they have a lot of people, and a lot of them have specific bond compliance groups. You don't. And so like our water system where I live, they were hit. Some of the smaller cities around Contra Costa were hit, and Alameda. And because they figured they don't have the staffing and they don't have the budgets to have like a cyber crimes unit, and they don't. And because of just coming out of the pandemic, everybody was working from home, and a lot of the security that you have in place while you're in the workplace doesn't exist at home, because I'm working on, and then I get up and I go get coffee, and I just leave your computer open. You don't know who's going through there, and a lot of billing, a lot of things were done. So that's why I'm saying you're not soft, you're softer than like the state government. And it's hard, it's like new techniques every day. We just got a notice that in connection with our new renewal of our bar fees, there is a phishing scam going on right now that makes it look like it's from the state bar, and that click here to pay your bar fees, except for now they've got your credit card information and a lot more your address, your full name, a lot of information on you. And so you don't know where it's going. And so they don't let us do that. It's all done centrally. One person does it. So we've reduced the the likelihood of that happening. Things like, it was funny today in coming here, I was freaking out because this is how I am. It was like, I sent them the presentation, but what if it doesn't work? Or what if it didn't load properly, or blah, blah, blah. So I want a thumb drive with the presentation on it. They said, no, you can't have one of those. You can have this. This is an encrypted drive that has this presentation on it. And I have to actually put in passcodes to access it. And I was just like, since when? And they said, because it, again, increased security because of all of the hacking that is going on. Who knew? I was looking for, when I came into the office, I was looking for a little thumb drive, and it's like, what is this? And so I had to, and so these are the things that we're all playing whack-a-mole, and we need to be very aware of it. And, you don't know what information or what the bad actors want to do or with the information that they have for you. They can use it to do a spoofing website to get information, get somebody to make a donation. It's coming to us. They think they're making it to you. Yeah. And I hate them all, so. Anything else?
One question. So you talked about appraisals and, whether, so it does make me curious, like, for example, not necessarily our agency, but in general, like whether it's, the investments in stock or land and such, do they have to be reappraised, or is it kind of the acquisition price?
In what context? You're saying when somebody makes a donation to you of land, or just
when you look at the balance sheet of any organization, and they have these investments in land and in stock. Is it
okay?
Is it based on their acquisition price, or
that's why you got to read the notes.
Because
it depends. They generally they'll tell you, because there's that depreciation schedule also, and they will tell you what was the basis for coming up with the value for the land. And if it's not there, ask them. Yeah. As I said, I am a spaz. So I would ask, yeah. Anything else? Well, again, thank you very much for taking time and having me here. And I guess I'll see you in 2026. Okay.
Thank you, Jackie.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Or does anybody else have anything to say? Feel enlightened? So no vote is required, so we can adjourn the special meeting till we'll return at 7 o'clock. I was Shaylin, I'd wait for her. Good evening, and welcome to this regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District. I am Margaret McNiven, President of the Board of Directors. This meeting is now called to order. This meeting is being held in person at the district's administrative office and by teleconference. Members of the public can attend and participate in the meeting in person or via Zoom. Instructions for submitting public comments are available on the meeting agenda. May we have roll call, please?
Director Gleason.
Here.
Director Riffle.
Here.
President McNiven.
Here.
Director Holman. Here. Director Kishimoto. Here. Director Sear.
Yes.
Thank you. All present with the exception of Director Kirsten Tucker.
For oral communications, are there any comments from members of the public on matters within the jurisdiction of the district, but not on the agenda tonight?
We have no oral comments.
All right. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Yes.
Director Riffle.
Yes.
President McNiven.
Yes.
Director Holman.
Yes.
Director Kishimoto. Yes. Director Sear.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 6-0 with Director Kirsten Tucker absent.
Great. Well, our special orders of the day, that noisy group over there, we're going to introduce staff. New staff. Is somebody going to introduce the staff? The new staff? Thank you, Ryan.
Good evening, board. We actually have 4 introductions for admin assistant. It's through a very successful recruitment process that we found 4 great admins to join us. I forgot the number. I think we got something like 133 candidates and really long process, but we got 4 really good ones. So happy to kick us off with engineering and construction and real property. We have a shared admin assistant. Really excited to introduce Mary Lou Spiegelman. She goes by Lou. Lou has been living in La Honda for the past 20 years and raised a family there and really values the gift of being able to live and raise a family in an area with abundant wildlife, open space, and clean air. She has worked in the admin assistant and office roles her whole career, including companies such as Genentech, Very Life Sciences, formerly known as Google Life Sciences, and YMCA of East Bay. Some of her responsibilities at those companies include cross-functional project support, real estate contracts, administrative support, contract and vendor management, process improvement, and training, compliance, administration. The common thread in all these roles is really her drive to help people. And I got to know Lou over the past month or so, and I come to find out she's actually a really talented artist with specializing in painting birds. And you could find her work down at the Madrone Arts in Piscadero, if you would like to go check them out. And again, she's been here for a little over a month, and she's fit right in with her passion for wildlife and nature. So she's fit right in with my like-minded people. With that, I'll invite Lou up to say a few words.
everybody. Really excited to be here tonight and at Mid-Penn itself. I'm loving my job. I love the people here. The culture is great. Everyone is friendly, conscientious, and just happy to like reach out and help in any questions that I have in getting acclimated. I do live in La Honda. All the work that we do and that you are a part of directly affects me. It's literally my neighborhood. La Honda Creek is right across the road from me. I've hiked there for many years before I even knew what Mid-Penn was really about. And I don't even know how to express in words what it means to actively contribute to the work that we are doing to put in trails that are accessible to everybody and to protect this space. And I'm just happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome.
Hello, everyone. Lori Lowe, Public Affairs Manager. So I'm super excited to introduce Gabby Navarrete, who is our Public Affairs Admin Assistant. And she recently worked as an Early Talent Experience Coordinator at ISC, where she managed complex scheduling and budget tracking and revenue forecasting, which is perfect since we're going through budget season right now. She's coordinated logistics for multiple projects and events, including a summer internship forum. And she handled vendor coordination too, which is great. And her prior work experience also includes serving as a staffing operations specialist at Google via Adecco and as a financial aid front office assistant at her alma mater. So she has that customer service, which is great since she's also up and running with InfoAt for us. And she brings experience interacting with the public through campus outreach events, so she can jump in on those tablings as well. And she has a BS in industrial and organizational psychology from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And we're just so thrilled to have her. She's been such a warm and wonderful addition to the team. So
hello, everyone. Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm really excited to be here at Mid-Penn and to have the opportunity to contribute to all of the amazing work that Mid-Penn does. This past month has truly been amazing, and I'm just really happy to be here. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Can you say your first name again, please? So we have two Gabbies on staff. No, I'm sorry. I was thinking of somebody else. Never mind.
Happy New Year. Jane Mark, Planning Manager. I am very happy to introduce Charles Big Tanner III, who goes by he, him, his, as our new administrative assistant supporting the planning department. Charles's first day here at Mid-Penn was back in November 18th. And since that time, he attended the Bear Creek Redwoods Phase 2 opening celebration. He filed a CEQA notice of exemption with the county recorder's office, and then has been working on transferring many of our wonderful project presentations into the Mid-Penn PowerPoint template that we have here. Before joining Mid-Penn, Charles worked as an office manager and an account executive with a State Farm insurance agency in San Francisco, which is where Charles lives. And he provided high quality support to the servicing agents and team with his administrative support. He assisted with new client onboarding and led networking events and some public meetings, a lot of behind the scenes administrative and budget work. Other prior work experience, he has been a bank teller at the Point Loma Credit Union in San Diego. And Charles decided on a career transition to apply his skills and his experience and his passion and knowledge for environmental sciences at Mid-Penn. His educational degree, Bachelor's of Arts, is in Applied Arts and Sciences in Geological Sciences from San Diego State. During his leisure time, Charles enjoys live music, photography, gardening, exploring the outdoors with his husband and their dog, Diego. So I'd like to invite Charles up here to the podium to share a few words. And one other thing is he's really excited about the outreach, the community outreach and public process that planning does, and really wants to delve into the DEI work, the diversity, equity, inclusion work that we are very much involved with now.
Thank you, Jane. Hi, board members. It's great to be here tonight to be able to, thank you, be able to introduce myself to you all collectively. As Jane mentioned, most of my educational background is in geological science, but I did also minor in women's studies. So I'm very, I did that because I'm really fascinated by the concept of intersectionality, specifically through an environmental lens. And I am extremely passionate about environmental justice. So I feel lucky to have been able to find a workplace where I'm able to apply that knowledge to such a unique, specialized mission that we have here at MidPenn. And although I've only been here for a very short period of time, it's been extremely clear just how passionate all of the staff members here are about the work that they're doing to contribute to that mission. So it's an honor to be here, and thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And then we have one more introduction, and from our land and facilities department, and our department manager is remote. Brandon, are you out there?
I'm here. Thank you, Anna. Good evening, board. Sorry I couldn't be with you tonight. I had a little bit of a mishap on the ski slopes, and so I'm home recovering from an injury. But that's not going to stop me from doing my favorite thing, which is introducing new staff members to my department. And so I'll round out the last addition to this really amazing cohort that you all got to meet tonight. And very excited to announce Emily Curley as our new administrative assistant in land and facilities. Emily joins the district possessing comprehensive administrative support skills, including scheduling and coordinating meetings, developing marketing materials and newsletters, researching and coordinating improvement projects, managing databases, coordinating with project managers and external vendors to facilitate the bidding and contracting process, and extensive experience in budget management. Additionally, Emily graduated from Santa Fe University of Art and Design with a degree in technical theater design. In her previous life, she worked closely with artistic and technical teams to develop a creative vision for live events by designing soundscapes that enhance the production quality of each event. According to Emily, I'm excited to join MidPenn and contribute to a team dedicated to making a meaningful impact. It is a privilege to help care for the beautiful land we all call home. Outside of work, I enjoy spending my time on creative crafts and attending live shows, which help me recharge and stay inspired. I look forward to meeting everyone and being part of this amazing community. Emily, would you like to come up and say a few words, please?
Hello. It's so good to officially meet everybody. It's such a pleasure to work at MidPenn. Everyone is so welcoming and so focused on the goal of preserving the land that we call home. And it's an inspiration to be around that kind of energy all the time, and honestly a privilege. I just am so thankful, and I've had such a wonderful first month and a half here. And I thank you all for your time and your attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, you four. Thank you. I'm sure you will have a great time here. All right, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Does any member of the board wish to have any item pulled from the consent calendar? Director Riffle.
Yeah, I don't have anything to pull, but I would like to make a comment if there aren't any others that want to pull an item. I think Maria's online, and I just want to say I was so impressed with item number 1, the minutes from the 20th, the 3rd, and the 11th meetings. I think there were 20 pages, I think, of minutes that you took, and the thing, and I know we're going to talk about this on one of our agenda items, but I have to admit, you make me sound a lot more articulate than I actually am. So thank you.
I agree.
Thank you for all the hard work that you put into to crafting those minutes. And I'm sure, I don't know, maybe it's a team effort, but I just appreciate whoever's involved. So Maria, I'll start with you. Thanks.
It's nice. Any more questions? Public comment?
We have no public comment.
Okay, no more deliberation? You want-
If not, I'll be happy to move the consent calendar.
I'll second that, and I'll also second your compliments of our clerk staff. Yeah, I agree. The minutes are always amazing.
Moved by Director Riffle, seconded by Director Kishimoto. Roll call beginning with Director Gleason,
Yes.
Director Riffle,
Yes.
President McNiven,
Yes.
Director Holman,
Yes.
Director Kishimoto, yes, Director Seer.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 6-0 with Director Kirsten Tucker absent.
All right. Board business item 8 is election of the calendar year 2025 officers for the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District Board of Directors. The district clerk will lead the procedure. Maria?
And actually, I'm going to begin with
Shaylin,
this.
perfect.
And I will begin by saying that we don't have any public comments for this item. And it is 7:17. And as a refresher for board officer nominations, for each office, I will call for nominations for the given office for calendar year 2025. I will then inquire if there is a second. If we have no further nominations, I will ask if a board member will move to close nominations for the office, and then I'll inquire if there is a second to close the nominations. Then we'll proceed to roll call. Are there any questions on the procedure?
And just one before we begin, I'm just wondering if our board president has any remarks for the year that we just had.
My final error. I did write a short thing, if it's okay to read it. I hope it works. Let's see. It has been a real pleasure and an honor and a privilege to serve as board president. Thank you all for the opportunity. Thank you, Maria and Shaylin, for so kindly fixing my errors and omissions. Anna and Hillary for being there when we need your wise, in-depth guidance. Staff for the myriad of detailed reports. And thank you to my colleagues for supporting me throughout this year. Sounds like an Oscar speech, doesn't it? But it has been a good year. There have been a few challenges just to make it interesting, but as you can see from the long list of accomplishments made in 2024, you can see them online. We have moved forward as evidenced by 845 acres added, mostly the 650-acre Johnson Ranch property, 150 acres of redwood forest added to the La Honda Creek Preserve, and a couple of smaller but significant parcels in the Sierra Azul. On the natural resources front, our brush removal and wildfire resiliency programs are well underway, and you can actually see the amazing evidence of this from Highway 84, Skyline Boulevard, Alpine Road, and Page Mill Roads. And trails. We do trails. We keep building them, and there are lots of them to keep us in shape. The multi-use Bear Creek Redwoods trails opened with much fanfare and positive reviews. The Alpine Road Trail at Coal Creek Preserve opened after receiving some much needed engineering attention. The completed trail should survive many future deluges. In San Carlos, we opened a new trailhead at Las Vientas Way with a short connector to the main dusky-footed wood rat trail that loops the preserve. And at Russian Ridge, we converted a half a mile of road to the Fog Vista Trail which leads to an extraordinary 360-degree view from the coast to the bay. Go check it out. But not only are these the trails that you see, there's also a tremendous amount in the works, and the planning department has been very busy on this front. There's a nice 1 mile plus loop trail through the Hawthorns property underway in the planning process. A short connector trail at Parissima Creek Preserve that will cross Skyline at the parking lot and connect to a new SFPUC built segment of the Bay Ridge Trail. A Highway 17 overcrossing that will connect the Ridge Trail from Mount Amanam to Sanborn County Park. And a long segment in La Honda Preserve connecting the Harrington Loop Trail in the south to the northern trails off the Allen Road permit-only parking lot. And one biggie that I just have to mention, there is also in the works a single-use trail for animals only. The Highway 17 undercrossing will enable wildlife to safely cross this very busy road through a culvert. It's amazing how much planning has to go into opening up a culvert, and the work Midpen has undertaken for this project is Herculean, not to mention creative. So Midpen is an extraordinarily well-run organization, I know, with a dedicated staff and a beautiful building. It's been in business for 52 years now, and I can say with much conviction that the Bay Area would look very different if it weren't for this vision of the early founders and the perseverance of our administration. The general public is grateful. And though it hasn't always been easy, I know that the hard conversations are taken seriously by Midpen, and indeed we've ended up with a better product. Thank you all for your support. Fun times.
Can we make comments?
No.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to my new seat. Oh, of course you can if
Okay,
you want.
well, they're nice.
You
Yeah,
speak all
but
very well.
I'm always.
Yeah, I know.
Just a few observations. First of all, thank you. I just really enjoyed serving with you, not only as your neighbor here, but also in the committees and other work that we've done. And I'm just always so impressed that you always do your homework. And even when you aren't quite sure why that number's that way or why we do something, you'll look it up on the internet and come in and you'll be ready. So I just always appreciated that. I also admire your honesty and candor. When we are deliberating, there's no question what you're thinking, and you're very upfront with us and with the public, and I admire that. And along the same lines, I appreciate your courage to say what you think and vote your conscience. And I think that's getting very rare among elected officials. So I always, even though, you know, it may be, you may be the only vote or 2 votes or whatever, you stick with it. And then finally, as you heard some of our new employees talk about, what I think really makes this place great is people have passion for what we do, and it starts at the top. And I think you really show that. So,
well, thank you. Thank you. You know more about me than I do. Thank you. Thank you so much. Really?
I'll just say that we'll miss your gentle but iron fist.
Just want to make one comment too, in addition to what's already been said. It's like, not only your passion, but your commitment. Because I know it's not always been easy to get to these meetings from the distance and other circumstances and such. I just want to applaud your absolute commitment to this organization, to being here to run our meetings and to be with us. So thank you.
You're welcome. That was all right.
I think Kurt put it very, very well. You did great.
And it's been terrific having you as president.
Thank you.
But maybe just one more thing. I thought you brought a lot of great perspective from the skyline.
Thank you.
To many, many conversations.
Yes.
And that was really valuable.
And I appreciate that. I
Thank you.
think so. Thank you. Well, Jed, come on. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm just joking.
I can't best that list of commendations. I'm sort of sitting here reflecting, Margaret, that yes, my sense is you came into the district a relatively short time ago in terms of formal being elected, and it was a new role for you. And I know there were times when you felt nervous about it, and but you got through that, and I think has brought a tremendous value to this board, and I very much appreciate it. And I'm a little nervous about coming next.
You'll be fine. Thank you. I really appreciate those kind comments. Iron fist, huh? Okay. All right. Over to you, Shaylin.
Okay, we'll begin then with the nomination for board president for calendar year 2025 for the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District Board of Directors. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to move that we nominate Jed Sear as our next president. I think I have our math correct and our policy correct, and I think Jed would be an excellent president for us.
Moved by Director Riffle, seconded by Director Holman. Do I have any other nominations?
Move to close nomination.
Moved by Director Kishimoto, seconded by Director Holman. Beginning with roll call, Director Gleason,
Yes.
Director Riffle,
Yes.
Director McNiven,
Yes.
Director Holman.
Yes.
Director Kishimoto,
Yes.
Director Sear.
Yes.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, Director Sear has been selected to the office of board president for calendar year 2025.
Well, thank you.
And at this time, we're going to take a brief pause while we swap seats and I swap nameplates, and then we'll resume.
I miss you.
Not going far.
No, I think this is yours. I think this is yours. It has your name on it.
I noticed that right away.
That's right. Still works too.
That would be wonderful. Mm.
I'll get your computer.
I guess now.
Is that your cord there? You need this?
Yes, please. This is my other glasses.
Yes. There's one of these.
I think you have one over there.
Okay.
And this is yours.
Yeah, please.
We're gonna hold on to this. That's an order.
Yeah, my wife does the same thing. Stand up. Well, just a brief thank you for putting your trust in me. And I trust I will be able to serve as your president with dignity and enthusiasm. So thank you, one and all.
Okay, up next we have the nomination for Board Vice President for calendar year 2025. Do I have a motion?
Be my honor to nominate Director Gleason.
Second?
Nominations be closed.
Second.
So the motion was moved by Director McNiven, seconded by Director Riffle. And may I get the motion to close the nomination was by Director Riffle? Oh, okay. Director Seer, okay. And seconded by Director Kishimoto. Perfect. Moving on to roll call, beginning with Director Gleason,
Yes.
Director Riffle,
Yes.
President Seer,
Yes.
Director Holman, yes. Director Kishimoto,
Yes.
Director McNiven.
Yes.
By a vote of 6-0, Director Gleason has been selected to the office of Board Vice President for calendar year 2025.
Okay.
Next, we have the nomination for Board Treasurer for calendar year 2025. Do I have a motion?
Director Kirsten Tucker did ask me to nominate Director Riffle.
I'll second that.
Moved by Director McNiven, seconded by Director Kishimoto. Do I have a nomination to close? Do I have a motion to close nomination?
I'll move to close nomination.
Moved by Director Gleason, seconded by Director Holman. Roll call, Director Gleason,
Yes.
Director Riffle,
Yes.
President Seer,
Yes.
Director Holman, yes. Director Kishimoto,
Yes.
Director McNiven.
Yes.
By a vote of 6-0, Director Riffle has been selected to the Office of Board Treasurer for calendar year 2025.
Thank you.
And our final office for nomination is for Board Secretary for calendar year 2025. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to move Director Kirsten Tucker.
Second?
Second.
Moved by Director Kishimoto, seconded by Director Riffle. Do I
Move,
have any other nominations?
move nominations be closed.
Moved by Director Seer, seconded by Director Holman. Roll call beginning with Director Gleason,
Yes.
Director Riffle,
Yes.
President Seer,
Yes.
Director Holman, yes. Director Kishimoto,
Yes.
Director McNiven.
Yes.
And by a vote of 6-0, Director Christine Tucker has been selected to the Office of Board Secretary for calendar year 2025.
Hey,
And that concludes this item. Give me one moment to transition.
okay. That,
Very well done, Shannon, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That is, that has
That's
got to have been the
absolutely.
quickest, I think in 4 minutes you guys. Fantastic.
very well done. Okay, so we are now up to item number 9, consideration of moving from detailed summary minutes to action minutes. And GM recommendation is to authorize the transition.
Good evening, Board. Maria Soria, District Clerk. So sorry I'm not in person, just getting over cold. So excuse me, I still do have a cough. And thank you again for the comments on the minutes. It is a teamwork with Shaylin. But man, just gave me a run for my money right now to doing the minutes right now as well. And so I'll go ahead and start. Before I do start the presentation, though, I would like to request to hold off on questions until the end of presentation, just in case some of the questions may be answered during the presentation. Thank you. I'll start off by reviewing the General Manager's recommendation, which is to authorize the transition from detailed summary minutes to action type minutes as official format for all Brown Act meetings and approve the proposed amendments to Board Policy 1.02 that reflects this change along with minor updates to the policy. Historically, since 1972, summary minutes have been used to capture the district's record of actions taken by the Board of Directors. While public agencies are legally required to keep a correct record of the proceedings, there's not a legal mandate required to use a specific format, nor under our district's enabling legislation. There is not also a specific requirement regarding the type of minutes that must be prepared. Staff is proposing to move from summary minutes to action minutes to be aligned with the City Clerks Association of California guidelines for preparing minutes in which it states, that all components of minutes shall be for the primary purpose of memorializing decisions made by the legislative body, and any minute component that does not serve this primary purpose should be minimized or eliminated. This includes comments made by the individual board members and members of the public. Detailed summary minutes made sense in prior years. This style of minutes serves as a necessary purpose because the public only had access to the public meetings in person and video recordings were not available. Now with new technology, the public has the option to attend the meetings virtually and may also view the video recordings. Recordings of the meetings are posted on the district's website a few days after the meeting is held. In addition, staff has archived the last 2 years of recordings of the website so the public can easily access them. Recordings are kept for 2 years according to our records retention policy. Also, to further promote transparency, the public has access to an archive of meeting agendas, staff reports, minutes, resolutions, and ordinances through the district's public portal. Some of the key differences between summary and action minutes is that action minutes will provide content focus. Action minutes emphasizes the board's decision as a collective body rather than shifting the focus to who said what. While summary minutes retain some benefit in that they provide a written sense of the flavor of the meeting, they present some challenges, such as distilling the nuances of a board's discussion into a condensed summary, including the appropriate context and a fair capture of each of the director's intended points and ensuring that minutes are factually accurate and comprehensive. Summary minutes tend to be lengthy and descriptive, but the primary purpose of minutes is to memorialize legislative body decisions and not to provide a comprehensive transcript of what happened at the meeting. Action minutes also consist with best practices with many other California agencies that have adopted minutes. This trend aligns with modern governance standards that prioritize clarity and efficiency. In addition, preparing summary minutes require extensive note-taking, drafting, and editing, often consuming significant staff resources versus action minutes that focus solely on actions taken. Action minutes will also streamline the review process internally and for the board and public who will spend less time reviewing action minutes, as it will provide a clear, concise record of decisions without the lengthy narratives. Lastly, action minutes reduce potential legal risks associated with the detailed summaries that may inadvertently mischaracterize discussions or opinions and create a liability for the organization or individuals in a lawsuit. Clerk staff will also be including the following information on the action minutes that are presented on this slide, with the exception of study session meetings or committee meetings that request board's feedback. In addition, any direction to staff will also be captured. Throughout our research, the following special districts and cities near us are using action minutes. Most recent, the CCAC took a survey in which 29 cities and special districts participated. 23 agencies are all using action minutes. Many of the agencies have transitioned to action minutes from 2010 to the present, such as the Santa Clara Open Space Authority transitioned to action minutes in 2020. The next steps, if approved by the Board of Directors, the proposed amendments to the Board Policy 1.02 will take effect, and the clerk staff will start implementing the transition to action minutes, starting with any Brown Act meeting following the proposed adoption of action minutes. Which leads me back to the General Manager's recommendation, which is to authorize the transition from detailed summary minutes to action type minutes as official format for all Brown Act meetings and approve the proposed amendments to Board Policy 1.02. That reflects this change along with minor updates to the policy. And with this, now I open it up to any questions.
Question, okay. I beg your
Did
pardon?
you want me to start? Okay. Yes, well, first of all, thank you, Maria. Like I said, as you heard, our entire board is very appreciative of the amazing work that you and Charlene have both done. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah, thank you so much. So on your recommendations, I do have a number of questions. You know, I mean, boards are different, and there are a lot of kind of legitimate choices that we could take. You know, so to me, well, I don't want to get into comments yet, but maybe if I'm going to keep this to questions at this point. So there's, I think there is kind of a spectrum of between action minutes and detailed summary. I guess you'd have mentioned verbatim, but I mean, like I'm on BCDC and they almost do verbatim minutes. So there's, but is that, can you just comment on so that we do have such choices? And I'm thinking particularly of like maybe something in between action minutes and detailed summary.
Yes, we can, you know, do a little bit more of a description, but I would still recommend that summary minutes can be subjective. And what is considered brief by a director may be detailed and time-consuming for some staff. Brief summaries still risk becoming overly detailed, sometimes even blurring the lines between summary and detailed minutes, and then kind of reverting back to detailed minutes. I feel as though action minutes offers a way to be consistent and be more concise with the reporting and the decisions made by the board, and would help us also with any pitfalls or misquoting or unfairly favoring individual board members' comments. Also, I feel like we do have the record of the supplemental staff reports, which if an item is presented to the board, usually do also have links on them that can provide that information. And there are available on the district's website and our permanent records. As well, we do have a 2-year retention schedule that we can go ahead and either, if you wish, we can extend maybe the retention schedule to maybe an additional 2 years if it feels more favorable to do so, to have that information available. But again, with the new technology, I feel like we're able to now shift to action minutes versus going to a little bit more slimmer summary minutes. At the end, I feel it's more about the end of the decision that the board took versus what was said during the minutes. And then keeping in line with other districts and agencies. And again, I did check in with OSA, and they've been doing their action minutes since 2020. So I'm hoping that might kind of answer your question.
Yeah, thank you. Well, and then I think, you know, another, you know, maybe question for all of us really is, I mean, I think the staff summary is a detailed accounting of the staff recommendation, but if and when the board does make modifications to the motions and at the way it's done today, often we'll just look to the staff and say, well, okay, the staff supports, we can count on the staff without a detailed modification of the motion. We can just look to the staff. Well, staff is nodding. So that means that they're going to come back to us before, you know, X. So I think with action minutes, we'll have to be much more detailed with the motions and be very clear about any modifications of expectations.
Correct. If a motion is modified or amended or revised, we will be capturing that. Just that way, if it veers off from the main motion, I guess we can expand the minutes during those cases to include how and why it was changed. So we can include that in the minutes, but it's only when they were revised or amended.
Okay, but when would it be clear that those will be captured in the minutes? Or when we need to, or we should make sure that it's actually captured in the wording of the minute, of the motion? Would you put that up on the board or something?
So we can, so sometimes we have study sessions, correct, where staff is asking for feedback or recommendations on a project. And so when you are providing those feedbacks, we will be capturing still that because we want to ensure that what the board has said is captured, so that way staff then can go back and review the minutes and add those into their project for the next time they present or to continue on with their projects. But we will be capturing any feedback, anything that the board recommends to staff will be captured as well. Again, any amending or revising of the motions will also be capturing as well. It's just like I won't be capturing any longer, if approved, sort of the presentation that staff gives, because I feel that the board report is there. And if so, if the public ever needs a PowerPoint presentation, that's also open to the public to attain. Again, we do have the recordings for 2 years. And we have the past 2 years on our website that they can review. So there's supplemental information that can be attained for any other information. But again, motions, amended motions, revised motions, feedback, direction to staff will still be captured
in the minutes.
Yes, just again, I wouldn't include the staff presentations. I wouldn't be including when the board asks a question and staff answers it. I won't be capturing that any longer. Only if a board member maybe asks a question and staff does not have the answer, I would still incorporate that into the minutes. So then that it's a reminder for staff to then attain that information and to provide it to the board. So I will still be incorporating some of that. It's just not the questions and answers from staff, the presentation from staff, or opinions.
Okay. Okay, sorry, I don't mean to be monopolizing this, but I guess that, okay, the PowerPoints, I didn't know that they're available with the minutes. Are they available already with the minutes?
No, only if a member of the public does ask, can I attain that PowerPoint? It's open to the public. We can share that.
Oh,
it's not part of the, yes.
But in the future, are you proposing that the PowerPoints be incorporated into?
We can, it's up to the board's discretion. We can also put the PowerPoints together along with the agenda packet and have those as a permanent record into our Laserfish, into our public portal.
Okay. Well, again, that's still more good memorialization of the staff presentation, but it's when the board makes changes, I guess that's kind of what we have to talk about. And the final comment I'll make, I guess, is, in order to make your job easier, I know a lot of like volunteer boards are beginning to use like AI minutes and to at least provide a starting point. Is that something that the clerk's offices are talking about?
Well, no, I first started as the clerk about 2 years ago and transitioning. We were using a service, but to me, the service was not very helpful to me as it was not capturing the correct information or the correct or either added too much. So then I was still needed to go back and review the recording and then go off of that and redo the minutes. So to me, it was more time consuming going back and reviewing than rather just myself doing them. As far as AI, again, I don't know if it can distinguish between who is speaking in order to capture that. So for me, since I'm adding my name to them, I would still need to go back and review the recordings to make sure that it was captured correctly.
All right. Okay. Well, let me hand this back to the chair. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So a few things, and if it's okay, we'll just combine questions and comments as previous. The examples that were provided with the staff report are very simple. They're very simple minutes. They aren't going to be about any complicated or complex matters. So it's hard to tell in some of those things how a complicated topic would be addressed. Maria, you mentioned a list of things that would be available, but I didn't hear mentioned that the video would be available.
Sorry, yes, the video recordings right after, like say for today, we'll have the meeting. It will be posted at least by Friday. So that recording will be available right away, the same week of the meeting. Also in our website right now, I have the last year in 2023, I have those recordings available for anyone that would like to view them.
And so, thank you. And so you mentioned also in the summary minute, or excuse me, not the summary minutes. Summary minutes, I do agree, by the way, can be complicated because they kind of require some interpretation, which
Yes,
meaning can be lost. So I agree with that 100%. So thank you for that. So when the minutes are posted, though, or published, will the links to those various resources be included in the minutes? I think that would be helpful and make it a much more public and transparent document.
To the full agenda packet?
So a link, for instance, to the staff report for the given item, a link to the presentation for the agenda item, and a link to the video for the agenda item. It's just adding those links in to the minutes, again, to make it transparent, easily searchable for folks.
I can incorporate the links to the board reports, but I wouldn't suggest adding the videos just because after in our current records retention schedule, we only have them for 2 years. So after 2 years, that link will no longer work.
I thought I heard you say you could add 2 years to that. And does that mean that currently after 2 years, those videos are destroyed or just not on the website for people to access, or what happens to them after 2 years?
They're destroyed.
Yeah, 2 years is not very long. One of the samples gives the list of speakers, or includes the list of speakers who speak on items. I think that's really important. On some of these samples that are provided, the agenda item itself, it's easier to ascertain what the agenda item is, and that's really important because if people want to do a search to find the minutes for something, you know, that search capability is really, really important. You may have answered this in response to Director Kishimoto, but I'm going to pursue it just to make sure. So if there's a motion made and then there's a lot of discussion about it, like amendments made or amendments made that don't pass, or you know, whatever, more discussion that introduces more meat to a motion, would that be included as well? And also the same thing with if there are no votes on the motion, including the comments about why the people voted no, or the various people voted no, is also very telling and informative. So would those things be included in the minutes?
Any amendments, revisions to a motion, or even if another amendment is proposed and it doesn't, it dies, it will still be recorded. But I would kind of steer away from opinions of adding those, since the purpose of the minutes are really not to capture those, but more the final decision. Also, I feel as in, after a couple of years, it becomes a little bit less relevant of what was said, but is more vital of what the decision was made. But it's up to the board, if they will like to include, also some of that information in the minutes.
Well, I think it's important to capture what the no votes were and why, because it's a continued discussion about what the topic was about, and somebody may want to later go back and say, hey, what about this? And then they could learn that it was already discussed. So I think that's really important. Yeah, I think those are my comments. I would kind of like to see samples though that are more complex than what was provided. These are very, very simple examples that were provided. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm all in favor of action minutes myself. But I do understand that certain nuances will be lost. I think what we will be doing is relying more on the video for our in-depth research. And so I checked a couple out, and it occurred to me that it would be really useful for searching if there could be bookmarks in the video. And I don't know how that's done. I have no technical ability to even consider it. But if if one could say, oh, agenda item 8, you open up the video and you can see right away where agenda item 8 is at the bar on the bottom of the YouTube video.
Yes, I did see those, a couple of examples when I was looking for some examples, but they use agenda software, which we don't have.
No.
If we purchase that, then we can go ahead. I have noticed with some agencies, each item, if you click on it, it'll take you to that recording space where it starts and begins to the new items. But again, they're using agenda software.
Would you look into it?
Well, we can look into it.
I mean, I don't want to make extra work for you or anything, but for me personally, that would be a great way of doing it. Just be able to skip to whichever item you want to watch at twice speed so that you can get it done. I think it's a good idea myself. Thank you.
If I understood correctly though, but that's relying on the video, which I don't disagree with, but it's only going to be there for 2 years. Currently.
After 2 years, you'll have the written minutes. You'll know what was discussed.
To some extent.
Yeah, but that's fine with me.
And if there is some, if there is some reluctancy to, again, only having the recordings for 2 years, I feel we can go ahead and amend our records retention policy and add either if you're comfortable with adding 2 more years, adding additional, 3 more years for a total of 5, or what you'd be comfortable with. Since I've been district clerk, myself or the deputies, we have not had any requests for any of the public recordings, any meeting recordings past our 2 years. So again, I feel like if we extend maybe the terms, that maybe that can relieve some of the transition to action minutes.
I would consider adding another year to retention. Like today, are we no longer having access to 2020? We've got access to 24 and 23. As of today, we lose our 2022. That's a question. Do we lose 2022's?
According to our records retention policy, yes.
You don't do it one at a time during the year, I think is what I'm saying.
Well,
that makes sense.
20, 24, 23, 23, 24. So just anything can be destroyed prior to 2023.
You'll keep everything, yes. So like next week, you won't destroy January's 2022.
No,
2022 will be available for the whole of this year.
yes.
Yes.
Kurt?
Great, thanks. Thanks, Maria, for your work on this. Just a few questions. Could you clarify, I think we're having maybe an issue with how long we're retaining the video of the
Mhm.
meeting. And just a couple questions to clarify that. So video transcript versus audio transcript, I'm assuming that's one and the same?
Excuse me. When I record on Zoom, I get a transcript and audio, video and transcripts. When we upload it to our website, they upload it using YouTube.
Okay. So the record then, if you will, the digital record that we are working with is both video and audio.
Yes,
Okay. And those then are, per our policy, are destroyed after 2 years, correct?
yes.
Okay. What about the written minutes? How long do we keep the written minutes?
Written minutes are permanent.
Okay. Well, I think we probably might want to revisit that, given what I'm hearing from the other colleagues, especially if we go to this. So, okay, thank you for that. The second is I'm wondering, since you have the most experience with public asking for documentation, is there, can you give us a sense, what does the public ask for? I mean, does the public say, hey, send me the written minutes, or does the public say, I want to have access to the digital minutes, if you will?
They usually just call and they'll ask for, what was the motion? They really don't ask for the recording. I usually sometimes media will call, or even for the Bear Creek Stables meeting, I did get a few emails just asking, what was the motion?
So your sense is that the public mostly wants they want a written articulation of what was the motion. I mean, can you refer them to, well, go see the video. It's on our website.
Yes, if they, I could let them know, if you'd like to view it, we do have it, on our, website that you can view. I'll send them the links of where it's located, or I'll just send them also say for instance, if someone calls me about today's minutes, they won't be ready until the following week. And so then I'll just, if you like to, you can go ahead and see the recording. It's already posted on our website. The minutes will be available afterwards.
Got it.
But usually they'll just ask what was the motion, what passed.
Okay. Okay, good. My last question is, we had, for example, today, for this meeting, we had 3 meetings of minutes. And I told the pages, there's 42 pages of minutes there. Now, the Bear Creek Stables, that was 17 pages alone. So, but still, that's a lot of work. I'm trying to get a sense, how long does it take you? Or can you describe the process that you go through?
Yes. So for about 1 hour of recording, it'll take me about 2 hours. So if the meeting goes for 5 hours, it'll take me at least 2 to 3 days to complete them. And that's only to kind of capture the minutes and kind of put them in some kind of sense and formatting. And then after, I'll go back in there and I'll review them, edit it. And then that's when after I'll also ask Shaylin if she can assist me with reviewing them and editing them further down. Or depends also how long the minutes are. I usually end up working on the weekends in order to meet my deadline to get them into the next packet. So they are, especially I feel like some of our projects are becoming a little bit more heftier, right? And bigger. And so there's a lot more for the presentation. There's a lot more commentary, discussion, questions and answers. So to me, it would be of value, at least not having to add the presentation, the questions that were answered. And so I can still continue adding some of the, again, for feedback. I can continue adding some of the changes in the motions of amending the motions or revise the motion or substitute motions. Those will still be added to the minutes. But even just that, or even the public comments, also not having, especially for the Bear Creek Stables one, that just took so much time and effort to get that done. Also, and there's other work that I also need to get done. So it does take a tremendous amount of time to get these minutes done and on time. And then after I complete them, then it goes to Anna to review, and then making edits and pass back to me to make those edits and then finalize them. So it is an extensive part of my task.
Wow. Wow. So, okay. Thank you for taking us through this. So just to recap then, so you take the time to capture the minutes, then it sounds like you ask Shaylin to proof them, and then it goes to Anna to edit them, and then it goes out. Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yes, correct.
Wow. Okay. And I promise last question is, how do we have a deadline that you have to meet? Is it like it has to be the next week or?
So for instance, today is the 20th, today is the 8th. So our next packet is the 22nd. So I have to have them ready for Anna's review, at least by next Tuesday. In order for her to give her time to review and make edits.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. Yikes. Okay. In a way, I'm sorry I asked that question. All right. Thank you.
Especially if there's back-to-back meetings, I have a committee meeting on Tuesday and then I have a board meeting on Wednesday, it becomes to be a little bit too much.
If I can add one thing for the board, and I know Maria mentioned this, but I'm just going to reiterate it. The way we manage and record meetings today, very different from what was done 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. With Zoom, with these video recordings, which we didn't have before COVID. We now have a full transcript, if you will, with even pictures and video and all of you present. We have that available now. So you have the actual word by word verbiage of the discussion, questions, answers, public comment, everything, the whole meeting from start to finish. We do have a short retention schedule for that. We can expand that. I would say consider maybe 5 years instead to keep those. I don't really see a whole lot of value in keeping the recordings much longer than that, because we rarely, and Maria, you can confirm, but we rarely get any requests for recordings or minutes that are that far out. Usually it's things that are within the first couple years or first couple months. And so thinking about just storage and data and the size of these recordings, that's a consideration for you to think about.
Just to the point about what people are asking for, I think the minutes are available in the portal. So I think people are going to the portal and they're looking up minutes. And I don't know, how often people are looking up older ones, but I've actually done a lot of research myself through the portal. And I've gone back to minutes as far back as 1976 and 77. And I found it very useful to read about what the board members were saying at that time. It really helped me understand, what board members had as their intent for different decisions that they were making about Midpen. And then there were, many things that I've researched in the, from the late 1990s and the 2000s and forward. So I think there's a lot of value to having that information out there. Now, when I read about this topic, what I felt was that given that we have these videos now, if you have the videos, people can do the research that they want. They can, they can create their own transcript. They can search that transcript. They can find where to go in the video if they need to see what was said, and then they can see exactly what was said. But the part that concerns me is having those videos not available after a certain amount of time, because then you only have the minutes to go back to. And now you have less information than we've been keeping for the last 50 years. So I'm wondering, what is the purpose of having the record retention limitation on the videos? Given that we're putting them out on the internet, I think we should assume that somebody has them. But taking them away makes it difficult for people who have a purpose to access them to get access to them. So I'm wondering, could we treat the videos like we're currently treating the minutes and the board packets and so forth, and just make them a part of what's retained?
So you're asking to see if we can keep the videos, the video recordings permanent?
That would be my preference.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what the, what the actual reason for having the 2-year limitation is.
That was just during some of our research. It varies. So everyone's records retention schedules are different, and it's, programmed to, what they feel is a considerable amount of time. Some agencies who use action minutes only have them for 30 days, some of them for 90 days, a year, 2 years, 4 years. So it varies. Some of them do have permanent recordings. So I'd leave that to the discretion of the board. But with the permanent retention, it just come with some constraints with where to keep them because there's just so big with the data. It just would be an additional cost to try to find how to house them and where to save them permanently.
I think I can answer the next question. Karen, were you going to? Okay. Okay. I don't know who was here when we went through our records retention policy, but I remember we went through, and I have to admit, I think we were doing our best to say what should we keep for how long. And so, Craig, I think you're asking a good question. So to me, this would be a good example to go revisit portions of that and say, you know what, probably makes sense to keep it for X amount of time. Now, then there's the question of what's the cost of storage to do that. And I would say maybe we should work on that to make these available if in fact they're going to replace the more detailed minutes, that the Craigs of the world are going to look at 10 years from now, type of thing. So, sorry, I just wanted to clarify where we came up with that 2 years, which I think was our best guess at the time.
Thank you. Good.
Yeah, concur with a lot of these comments that are being made. And I wanted to make a point about something that's been said, is that we only know what people are asking for. We don't know what people are going back and looking at or referring to.
Right.
So I think that's a big hole, and one that we shouldn't assume is consistent with just what people are asking for. So, and then the other point I wanted to make is some entities use and I'm not necessarily suggesting this, but I just want to put it out there because it hasn't been mentioned so far. Some entities use a service to transcribe meetings into minutes. Maria mentioned. No, I didn't hear that. So, okay, thanks.
If I may, General Counsel Hillary Stevenson, just wanted to comment briefly on Director Riffle's point about the board's adoption of the records retention policy. If it's the board's desire to go back and consider some of those items again, my recollection with regard to retaining information electronically is that there are standards set by the state for storing. If the board designates something that has to be stored permanently, it has to be retained in something called a trusted system, and there are standards for that, and there has to be redundancy, and there's some complications. So it may not be as simple as, we're going to have one DVD and keep it in a drawer. There's typically something more there. And I recall that we worked extensively, the clerk's office and our IST folks with the vendors that offer Laserfiche as to how they can verify that they're a trusted system and hold things electronically, hold permanent district records electronically. But I'm not sure whether there's the technical capability to, or the financial wherewithal to store video in that trusted system. So it could require a little bit of research to come up with a retention period that we can actually adhere to with a straight face at a reasonable cost. So that might be kind of a policy decision point for all of you if you want to reconsider those retention periods. Thanks.
So does that mean that when, say, something is under the 2-year retention, it doesn't have those requirements? Maybe the, say, redundancy requirements, or what?
My recollection is that if we are, regardless of how it's stored, it has to be stored, either physically or in a trusted system if it's stored electronically. So if we're talking about video, there's, limited options, I guess, as to how that video is stored.
But then we're already meeting those requirements for, say, the 2 years of video that we're storing.
Yeah, yes, that's my understanding.
Yeah, okay.
That's a good question, but I believe that's the requirement is if we specify we're retaining something for a period of time, then we're storing that in a way that meets those standards.
And then it's a matter of how much storage of that type do you have if you want to keep these for a longer period of time?
Yeah, and we could probably all imagine that even a few years ago, I think we adopted our policy in 2020, that perhaps some of the capabilities have changed a little bit, but with respect to permanent video of everything, I could imagine that might still present some challenges.
Looking at it, every time I turn around or listen to one of my colleagues, I shift and flex and go somewhere else. I mean, I'm trying to weigh the value of records and the format of the records, and think about it in terms of some formats lend themselves to use hundreds of years in the future. I'm not sure in terms of video that that's the same sort of thing. I mean, you can look at something written down hundreds of years ago and you can sense the value. It's a real clear indication of what one person's mind was going on at the time. And individual photographs have that same kind of value over time. I'm questioning it from a different point of view. Now the mass of photo options with cell phones, for example, you have so much data, it begins to get muddled. In fact, years ago, as a child, we had photo albums, and you would write down who this person was and what was going on and so forth. We don't bother that anymore. You take a quick snapshot of Harry and Susie's wedding, and they don't remember who Harry and Susie are, and there's not the emotional connection the same way 20 years further ahead that a photo album in this age has a certain value. I'm getting a little muddled, but I'm trying to balance the value and what's the trade-off. I think that's the kind of choice that we as a board are wrestling with. I can imagine us investing a significant dollar amount to store something that turns out in the future nobody uses. So I don't have any of the answers. I just am thinking about some of the implications of the choice that we're wrestling with.
So if I can add just in listening to all your conversations, ultimately the going back to your comments, directors here, that's why the action minutes are the most important, because it's what was the decision, right? That's what's lasting, and that's what we need to definitely keep, and that's what's required for us to keep. However, I sense and I hear that there's a concern about losing the details around the conversation of the meeting. We do have the video recordings. Currently, they're only here for 2 years, but that is a self-imposed choice. We could, if you'd like to keep those permanent, which I'm hearing some sense that might be where you're leaning, I'm not sure. We can look at that, and we can look at the cost and the requirements around keeping those recordings permanent as the backup, if you will, or the source of the detailed information behind the meetings, so that we can move to action minutes, which will save an incredible amount of time, and be the primary source of the main data point that people typically are looking for anyway. But should they want to see the details behind the meeting itself, the video recording would be there. So if you're amenable, we can look at so long as it's manageable, it's affordable, if you will, and we can sustain it, that we would then retain those permanently for the district. And unless we learn otherwise, we would stay with the detailed minutes.
Oh, go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I think Maria makes a compelling case for action minutes. So I'm pretty bought into that. And my concern again is just the loss or potential loss of the video. And it seems like if we start now, we sort of have 2 years to figure this out, right? Because we know we're going to keep our current videos for 2 years. So during that time, we can make a decision to extend the length of time we store them. And my expectation is that over time, storage will get cheaper, right? So that this may get to be an easier decision rather than a harder one as that time frame increases. So I think as long as we can, tee up that discussion about how much will it cost and so forth to extend that period, then I would be fine with that. I think it's going to action minutes does sound like a good idea as long as people can have a way to get that detailed information if they need it.
Sure. I'm in agreement with Director Gleason. Do we happen to know, Maria or anyone, how do other cities, the 23 of the 29 that have gone to, do you know what they do with their video?
I did ask a few of them. Some of them keep them on a DVD. Some of them keep them on a USB, a thumb drive. So it varies how they keep them. Again, it's just because the data is so big that's how they're holding onto them, especially if they're permanent. They're
Okay.
burning them on a DVD.
Thanks. I'm not going to try to repeat what Director Gleason said. I'm in agreement, which I think is in line with what our general manager is saying as well. Let's go to action. I'm thinking, let's go to action. Let's figure out how we can keep the video for as long as practicable, if you will, which ideally would be forever. But if there's another level that says, after 10 years, the number of usage of this drops so low that maybe it's not practical to do that. But that's a different decision. I don't know if we need to make that tonight or not. But so that's how I'm feeling about this right now.
I'm sorry if someone is saying something I can't hear. Oh, no.
Okay. Good.
Okay, well, so based on this discussion that I've been hearing, I think, so I'm trying to formulate a motion. It would be something like direct staff to return with information on the cost and feasibility of permanent retention of video recording. That's A, and then B would be in conjunction with move to action minutes or something like that. But that would not begin until this item comes back and we have the board has a chance to review the results of that research. So we would not take action tonight.
Well, I'm happy to take action tonight.
Well, at least two people.
But I do think about retention of electronic records.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have the ability to see my son's first online report from high school.
Well, this
changes so quickly.
This is the information that's going to come back to us, how feasible it is. And maybe it's not feasible. But
well, how about we give it a shot?
We would do it in parallel.
How about we give it a shot for action minutes? Because for a whole year, for 2 years, we got access to those videos. And if we want to change it, we'll get Maria to just sit and do it. But it's not a good motion. That's not a good motion. I agree.
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying it's either to come back with another action item with that further information before we make that transition, or you're saying to have a year where we don't have full summary minutes, but we depend only on action minutes and a video that we do not know can be retained or not. So we don't know whether we can retain the video, so that has to be a no. We don't know whether the video can be retained.
At the end of a year, if we feel that the minutes are inadequate, then we just go back.
Is somebody going to go back to create the summary minutes from today?
Yeah.
So I'm going to second Yoriko's motion with the clarification that staff will return, just to kind of restate the motion, that staff would return with information about the implementation, including the cost and feasibility
of permanent retention
of video record.
Yeah.
And
And,
B,
and if
B would,
successive,
at
if-
that time, we would decide whether to go to action minutes. So that's the, I have it correct?
yes, okay, that would, yes, something like that, yeah. What would it be?
So,
Consider at that time.
yeah, whether we would go to action minutes. And the reason for that, which is consistent with the conversation that's just been had over here, if we go to action minutes now, and we also need to look at like what actually is going to be included in action minutes, and then it turns out we can't keep those video records permanently, then we have a gap in information. So it's not like we're throwing this over the edge of the ship. We're just saying there's not a rush here. Let's just get the information in hand so that we can make an informed decision.
Understood. How about this? With that in mind, but also thinking about, I can tell you that staff is very motivated to move quickly on this, to make it work. They will figure out how to make it work. So here's the motion, and it's a little lengthy because I've added a piece to it. Authorize the transition from detailed summary minutes to action type minutes as the official format for all Brown Act meetings, and approve the proposed amendments to Board Policy 1.02 board meetings that reflect this change, along with other minor updates to the policy. Once the and have this take effect once the general manager changes the retention schedule and process for retaining video recordings permanently.
Well, we need information about the cost and feasibility of that as well. It's not just your decision, right? I mean, I'm not questioning your authority. I'm just saying, we need the information. You need the information to
That's
know
right.
if that's feasible.
I mean,
And
as
what the cost of it
Director McNiven just said, she can't even watch videotapes from, even 20 years ago, VHS to, so.
No, true. I understand that. I guess, well, I guess I'm trying to move as quickly as possible.
I know,
with
but
it.
we don't know if it's feasible.
So if staff's motivated, staff will be motivated to come back to us quickly with that information.
Yes. The other thing just to know is technology changes. And so before we had even before the track, what do you call it?
Yeah, exactly. Floppies.
Floppies, zip
Tape
drives,
recorders.
too, I think.
Tape recorders.
So as technology is changing, we're going to be adapting and changing. So I don't even think CDs are very useful these days anymore. I don't think I even have a CD player anymore at home. So we would be modifying and recording and storing the data in different ways, but always being able to release that data when requested in a way that is accessible, because the way data is accessible changes over, or has been changing and is changing very quickly over time. So, yeah.
I just encountered something just this evening so I'm switching from one iPad to another iPad. And I encountered with our own IT person an issue because none of my old emails that I have kept are accessible on my new iPad. It's a technology change. And he doesn't know if he can get me access to my old emails. So technology does change, but it doesn't mean it's always going to change in favor of access and easy access. The example I just gave is a real-time, just tonight example.
No, true. I understand what you're saying. I guess I'm saying how we transmit that data, we're going to have to make that accessible to the public in some way, in the way that they can then retrieve it, download it, view it. And that's going to change and morph over time. But we're always going to be able to, we'll always need to retain the data so that we can then transmit it however it's most transmittable at that time. But, it's, we can come back. We can
I think we'll have to come back.
Sorry to interrupt. Again, a lot of entities are burning CDs and DVDs. And for me, until we find a way, or if it's costly, or until we find out the cost to either store them in Laserfish or in SharePoint for us to see how much that would be. I would still, we do put them on YouTube, so we have them on YouTube. I currently do save them on my SharePoint as well, just to make sure I have a backup. We can also burn it to a DVD. That's what we are using some Blu-ray DVDs as a backup to our trusted system as well, and also to a USB. So I can have multiple ways of saving it for right now until we can check to see what the cost would be. Or if you're more favorable to maybe amending the retention schedule for right now to go ahead and save these recordings for at least 5 years. And then we can come back with additional information of how much it would cost to retain them permanently.
Can I say one thing about Laserfish? Have you guys ever tried to go back into those minutes? It is so slow. It's really hard. So it's mute. I get like, oh, I don't care. I won't find, I'll just read, I won't go back that far. The Laserfish is not very good in itself. That's just what I think.
It depends on your bandwidth also, I think, because I've noticed sometimes at home, it is
Yes.
a little slower versus when I'm at work. But yes, it is a little slower. To me, I feel the purpose of the minutes though are really what was the decision at the end of the day? What was the motion that was approved? Not how you got there, but what was the decision as a whole for the board, right? Not just a person opinion or one person stating something. It's at the end of it, it's a whole decision that was made by the board. After after a few years, that kind of tends to be a little bit less important of how you got there. It's because the motion, the resolution, the ordinances, the board reports, all that information is still saved and available.
So thanks for that, Maria. Here's my sense. I think I can speak for all of us, would like to go to action minutes for all the reasons you say. And in fact, the action minutes are defined in the new policy, which is at the end of this, end of your write-up here. So I think we're good with that. I think what we're struggling with right now is actually a technology issue. And so when I guess maybe I'll look at our general manager is in a way, I kind of wish someone from IT could be here and maybe back to give us some more background is to try to answer this technology question. I think you've given us an out, if you will, to say, we'll figure it out. And I guess there's a little bit of a concern of, but at what cost will that be? So that's the only thing I'm inclined to go because I'd like to get this thing done so we can move on. But on the other hand, I think that there is an interesting question of, well, what about the future of this? So I almost would like that piece of information before I could say, yeah, done.
Maria, do you know in your conversations with IT and working with IT on these recordings, are there cost-effective methods that we can employ in the interim to retain them in a suitable fashion that meets the requirements for retention purposes that we can employ now as we're identifying any other approaches to retain these because we're going to be generating now a lot of video and keeping them now forever as we're identifying any other solutions to retain all of these permanently.
Yes, I did speak with Owen about it, and he did let me know that we can go ahead and burn them on Blu-ray DVDs. We do have access to those Blu-rays, that we do have the equipment in order to run them, to save them there. And then we can download them too if a member of the public or the board or anyone would like to view one that's an older one, we can download it and then provide that.
So we have at least an interim approach that is cost effective. And as we're looking at more permanent approaches to retain, the accumulation of recordings for
Yes.
forever, we can bring that information to you around the cost to do that.
Currently, in Zoom, all of our recordings I still have in our from 2021. They're currently still on Zoom. And that's why we also started talking the discussions about how to download them, because my the data is almost at capacity, so I need to download them as well. So that's when I did start talking to Owen about what would be needed in order to keep these permanent. And so the cost-effective way was just go ahead and burn them. I would burn them on a CD, but I was also put them on a USB so I can have a backup. So that way I always have two ways of accessing them.
Okay, so you have two options, I guess.
Yes, I would want to, just in case for any reason the DVD goes, doesn't work or something, that I have then a USB. I would always want to have two. If we're keeping them permanent, I will want to make sure that I have two ways of storing them. And that would be the cheapest way of keeping them permanent.
Yeah.
Again, OSA puts theirs on a USB port.
Okay. Well, I mean, so we do, yes, I did make a motion and there's a second. And so Maria, it is true. I mean, we totally understand the intent and support that, but I think, maybe if it's brought back together with the whole the retention schedule, which actually I was able to find. I guess it was oh wow, there was a records retention schedule amendment that even as early as gosh, I don't
I think
remember.
the last one was maybe 2022.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was one 2022. I mean, it is so complex, but I think it's important enough that I don't think we can approve it tonight without it coming back, at least with some more information, further information on the feasibility and cost of permanent retention, quote, permanent retention. Because
yes.
Yes, I mean, in technology, yes, I don't know what permanent means unless we can etch it in stone or something. But
And so then just checking back, with the general manager's amendment to the motion not work as well, since she had proposed to make the changes to the retention schedule to make them permanent, and then for right now at least burn them and have them in a USB port to keep them permanently, and then coming back to the board with the cost of either putting them on our SharePoint or adding them to Laserfish.
Obviously, I support the motion that's on the floor. I seconded it. And I think for us to have the full set of information, we really need to make an informed decision and a long-term decision. So what we have now is we know how it can be stored in the short term. We don't have an answer for longer term. So I don't often do this, but should I call a question?
Call for the question.
I'm going to call the question.
What does that mean?
What?
To take a vote.
Could you repeat them? This motion that
was call the question. Have it require a second? I can't remember.
It does.
So you second.
Okay. Second, I suppose, yes. I mean, and the motion, I don't know if Charlene has voted better than I did, but would you like to, put on screen kind of? Give me one moment. Okay. Okay.
And I can polish this or make any adjustments as needed.
Yeah. Permanent retention of, well, it doesn't even have to be video, but of the record, recording. Oh, that's good. Yes.
May I point out something? At this, look at how long it's taken us. And we still aren't at condensed minute. Because
I called the question.
you know, are we clear that this is what we're voting on? So I make
yeah.
sure that
Well, you don't need that second sentence, I guess. But, oh, wait.
okay. I want to make sure everybody's clear on what we're voting on.
I'm clear on what's on the screen, but what if we want to go to action minutes right away?
Vote no.
Then you vote no, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to go to action minutes, right?
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, then you can have then you make your own motion. Gotcha. Okay.
Before we get to this, I'd like to have our general manager just comment on this as to impact on staff and so on to do this. I think this is a good approach, but we're asking for yet more work. So just want to understand the impact of that.
I guess I'm looking at what the request is and the information I've received from Maria and what I knew about the process by which we record and retain recordings and the options available to us to record them and retain them. And I feel that we have the capability now to do it in a cost-effective way, at least in the interim, if not in the long term. It does appear that this is probably going to be a structural change that we need to make regardless, and that we would have to, as a district, figure out a way to do this cost-effectively no matter what. And so, although I totally understand the desire to have the information up front, I feel like we're already moving in that direction, or we're gonna have to move in that direction regardless. So, because of that, I lean on, let's just do it.
Right.
But I understand where the sentiment's coming from.
So I have a procedural question here. I understand where you're going, and I think this is fine. However, I'm sensing from some of the board though to say, you know what, I kind of like what our general manager proposed. Can I call the vote on that motion, or do we have to go to this?
Well, I think we vote on this.
You have to go to this first.
Yeah.
Procedurally, yes. Yeah. Since
Okay.
that question has been called, and no, I don't know. I guess calling means we don't have to discuss it anymore, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I can make more of an argument. But I guess, yeah. I think we've talked about it quite a bit. So let's call for the vote then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're calling for the vote on this on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Roll call beginning with Director Gleason.
I think there's a better option that we haven't explored, so I'm going to vote no.
Director Riffle,
I'm going to vote no.
President Sear,
No.
Director Holman,
Yes.
Director Kishimoto,
Yes.
Director McNiven.
No.
The motion fails with 4 against and 2 for.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think in general, I like where the general manager is going. And one thing I would say is earlier, I think we heard Maria say, well, if we wanted to go to 4-year retention, we could do that. So to me, that means we have flexibility. We already think we have flexibility to hold, a certain amount of this video for a certain amount of time. And if you, without changing our general policy for 2-year, we could just say that we're going to permanently store the next 2 years of video. So if we go to action minutes now, then we could say tonight that we're never going to lose the next 2 years of recordings. And that gives us 2 years to figure out the long-term solution, right? So to me, it seems like we can, without losing anything for the public, we could make this good change to go to action minutes. And it gives us time and flexibility to figure out what that long-term solution is.
So do we have a motion, I guess? I'm in agreement with the direction you're going, but we need a motion. So I don't know who to look for. So if you look at what you had before, I think what I would be saying is let's just make a decision that the next, until we come up with that permanent policy, we'll guarantee that we don't lose this set of meetings, right?
If I may, it sounds like the board or the motion would be to direct the general manager to return to the board with a change to the records retention policy, a proposed change sometime within the next 2 years. And that would achieve what Director Gleason's trying to achieve. I imagine it would probably happen more quickly than in 2 years. So you may just keep it really simple and direct the general manager to return with the updates to the retention policy, and that would give you the opportunity to specify the retention period with more information, if that's what you're asking her to do.
So I think what I'm hearing then is, number one is we approve the move to action minutes. Number two is we ask the general manager to come back with an amended retention policy, as well as the plan for permanent retention of the meeting recordings. I'm saying recordings because it could be video, it could be audio. Because right now, what we're permanently recording is something written. So if that gives us more flexibility and a cheaper way to do it, that's okay too. So do you want to articulate a motion or should I?
I'm gonna give it a try here.
Okay.
So Shaylin, okay. So keeping the original motion, or the original recommendation, I should say, I'll just read it. Authorize the transition from detailed summary minutes to action type minutes as the official format for all Brown Act meetings, and approve the proposed amendments to Board Policy 1.02, board meetings that reflects this change, along with other minor updates to the policy, and have these changes to the minutes take effect once the general manager returns to the board with an amended retention schedule and process for retaining video recordings permanently.
My apologies. Let me go over that a little bit more slowly. I have that reflects this change along with other minor updates to the policy, and have these changes to the minutes take effect one.
So just take it. I'm sorry.
They're directing you to bring the records.
Okay, and return the board with an amended retention schedule?
Yeah.
Okay, so a slight modification, Shaylin. So the last part is, and have these changes to the minutes take effect once the general manager returns to the board with an amended retention schedule? Or no, and have, sorry, and direct the general manager to return to the board with an amended retention schedule.
Director Riffle also asked if when you return to the board, you could provide information about permanent retention. Is that
Okay.
right? About the cost or to inform the decision about whether permanent retention is what the board wants to shift to. Is that part of the direction to the general manager?
I think we all want to figure out how we get this to a permanent retention.
So the board will have the opportunity to consider changing the retention schedule so that the recordings are retained permanently. That's what you'd like the general manager to bring back to you.
Okay, so maybe then, Shaylin, the last part of that is, and direct the general manager to return to the board with an amended retention schedule and information on the process for retaining video recordings permanently.
Can we make that process and cost?
Process and cost.
Good point.
And may I reiterate this motion, just to make sure I have everything written down correctly? So I'll check with Director Riffle. Does that capture the intent of the motion?
I would second this.
Or
But
there's-
it's.
Oh, sorry, Director.
It's great.
Do we need to have the timeline? We had said within the next 2 years, but because that's the duration where we know we're going to have the recordings.
Okay, so at the very end, within the next 2 years.
Well, we're not going to pull the trigger on this. We are.
We are pulling the trigger, but I'm coming back to you
Right,
within
right,
2 years with that information.
So
This-
we haven't relieved the staff of any task in terms of thoroughly complex minutes.
So we would proceed with moving forward with the action minutes now, but within a 2-year window, probably way sooner than that, come back to you with the information and the costs around the process for retaining video recordings permanently.
Okay. Anyway, clear
And-
on what we're voting on, Karen? Question or comment?
Can I make an amendment here? So, can we change 2 years to something like 6 months? Because, we could have this gap in here where it's like, we're gonna lose recordings, so we don't know how to retain them permanently. So can we change that 2 years to 6 months?
Maria, 6 months, you see that plausible?
I think so. I just have to check to see how much also, because I need the help of IT. So I just need to coordinate with them as well.
How about you give us 9 months just in case?
Well, is this acceptable to the maker of the motion
It's acceptable to me.
and the seconder?
Yes. I agree. 2 years seems long. So, yeah.
Okay, we're ready for the roll call?
Director Gleason?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
Director
sorry.
Riffle?
Karen?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Director Riffle seconded the motion.
Correct.
Is that what you were asking?
No, roll call.
No, I have comments.
Okay, we're not.
Hold it,
So-
hold it,
My
have
apologies.
comments.
So, I'm not sure we all have the same picture in mind about what action minutes are. And I'd indicated earlier that the action minutes that are provided as example are simplistic. I shouldn't say simplistic, they're simple meetings. So this is the kind of thing that's like, would this be captured in the action minutes? So I would like to see like the list of speakers included, like is indicated in, I think it was the second attachment.
That's, Karen, that's, it's listed on page 5 of 6 of the updated policy. And it does have the list.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
you may want to take a look at that because that might answer your questions about what action minutes will contain.
and where do you find that? I'm sorry.
5. Oh, it's page 25 of the packet or page 5.
But I'm having to look at it online, so.
And I have updated the slide to the action minutes will include the following information if that's
Oh,
helpful.
there you go. That's even better.
And Director Holman, it's attachment 4, and it is on
Page 5 of attachment 4.
it's page 5, yes, of attachment 4. So it will still be recording for any public comments that are not oral comments. I will still do a brief summary on those since they're not on any public, any agenda items. So we'll still put in a little blurb of what they're discussing. For any oral comments, I will still be listing all public speakers for each agenda item with their names and only if they're opposed or against the item. And again, for public hearings, they'll be a little bit more detailed. And it also states on the policy that for study sessions or any feedback or action minutes will also be expanded to include those and will be recorded.
And I still like just for, you know, for posterity's sake and for future reference, I still like including why whoever voted no, because it really is a capture of intention and discussion that was had.
As the like the director of why they are voting against an item?
Yes.
We don't have that right now, do we?
Sure.
I can
I don't see that.
Board members, sure, because it's in our minutes.
I can include that if that's the wish of the board. I can include when there is an opposition to a motion of the statement that is said.
And it's not going to happen all that often, but when it does, I think it
No,
is.
yes.
And
I can include that.
okay, all right, very good, thank you. And then we also talked about links in these minutes, and I don't see that in this list. I mean, not links within the minutes to the presentation and to the video. Yeah.
Since the minutes, we're gonna go with them permanently, right?
Say that again, please.
Just confirming the recordings are gonna be retained permanently.
Well, that's the intention.
And so if that's the intention, then I would then revise again the board policy to state board policy 1.02 that minutes and the recordings will be the official record then. Maybe if that's more feasible to the board, that way it's also added into our policy. For the links though, when you go into the public portal, it is separated. There is a minutes, there is a board packet, and so it's easily found searchable. When you see the date of today's meeting on the minutes, you can just go into the agenda packet where all the information, public comment, written public comment, the board reports, attachments, will all be together as one packet. So they're easily searchable on our public portal.
The staff presentations aren't there though, right?
And our staff presentations are not part of our packet.
I know. And
They're only available if a member of the public requests them.
But what I'm saying is,
But if you're gonna have the permanent record, I feel that you don't need both.
The video recording will have the presentations part of that.
That's true. Okay.
Could I clarify? So Maria, did you say that you were assuming that the video recording would be the official record and not the minutes?
No, it would be, we can, if you're saving them permanently, what I have noticed, like in the city of Palo Alto, OSA, that they do add it into their policy that the recording and the action minutes are the official record.
Oh, they're both official record.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. But, okay.
Because Palo Alto transitioned also to action minutes.
I see. Oh, so both, oh,
That makes sense.
and if there's, yeah, I suppose that makes sense, but if they're, so the wording of the minutes would be exactly verbatim per.
No, we will still have action minutes.
Well,
It'll
well,
be
but the
action minutes, but
would be-
they'll be supplemented by the video.
Okay, but the wording of the motion is as written or as verbatim per the video?
It would be verbatim
So-
as it was approved by the board.
Okay, because yeah, often we're looking at, we're looking at the what Shailene just puts up for us, and
So in this case, for example, what she put up and was approved as the motion by Director Gleason, that's what would be recorded in the minutes.
And you would experience it all in video.
Yes, yeah.
That's getting to that.
Yeah, okay. Well, if we're if we're keeping the video permanently, that makes sense. Unless there's, any discrepancy, but if you're confident that you can work it out. That's, I'm good with that. So just to repeat, can you include in the minutes or the motion that we're assuming that the official record would be both the action minutes and the permanent video of the meeting?
I would recommend that be part of what the general manager brings back, because the board is not amending the retention schedule right now, the retention policy. Right, that part of the policy could be.
Okay, but the general manager assured us that she's bringing that back. So I think it's okay to include it in the motion.
It's not on the
It's,
agenda.
You're asking her you're now asking for changes to the records retention policy, which can be done when this item comes back to you. I'm not sure that it makes sense to say now that it's going to be part of the permanent record before you've made a decision of whether you formally revise the records retention policy. It seems like that's something that's going to come back to you, and that way you can fully consider it at that time. But
okay,
that would be my recommendation, because then we can make sure that we have all the policies consistent and that it's memorialized correctly in the records retention policy.
And if I may, I will note that these minutes for tonight are going to be our traditional minutes. So all of this conversation is going to be captured in these minutes, which will become our official record.
For tonight.
For tonight, yes.
Yes, okay. Yes, okay. So for tonight, we're gonna have that wording included. So yeah, that would be a concern of mine if there's still confusion about whether permanent the videos could be kept permanently or not. And there still seems to be confusion about that, so, okay.
So do we have the motion somewhere? Or is it? Or is it?
Do we know what the minor updates are? Other minor updates?
Yes, they are in the packet. They're more specifically in attachment 4. They're fairly minor. For example, it identifies now, which was not added in there before, that information about our meetings are posted on our district's website. So small clarifications that were not explicitly there before, or changes to how we conduct our work that are much more explicitly in the policy now. And then just for my own clarification, Maria, when would the action minutes take effect? When would the board first see the first round of action minutes?
We would commence the January 22nd meeting for the board.
January 22nd meeting. So the minutes they receive on January 22nd, or the minutes for the
No, and so if they would receive the first set of minutes, and because we'll commence on the 22nd to be action, and then they will come to the board the second meeting in February. So that date
So
is
starting with the meeting of January 22nd, the minutes for that meeting.
yes. Well, actually, we'll start it off with the Bond Oversight Committee meeting minutes because we have a meeting on the 21st. And we'll transition to action, and then the board, we have a meeting the next day on the 22nd, a board meeting. And then those minutes will then be presented to the board in February.
Just one more question. So if we see the action minutes and we still have questions, can we make comments? I mean, it wouldn't be agendized without us agendizing it. Can we still make comments or clarifications or whatever? You can amend at some point.
Be approved, yeah.
But it'd be the form of the minutes. So it wouldn't be like a correction to the minutes itself. It would be like the form of the minutes. So let's say if the action minutes come and they don't include something that, at least at this point in time, I'm understanding would be included. I'm just using that as an example. Would I be able to comment and say, well, I thought we were going to include X in the minutes. So that isn't a correction to the minutes. It's a comment about the form of the minutes.
Maria, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that whenever, even if there's not a correction to the minutes, but if there's an amendment to them or a proposal to slightly revise things, that you can request for that to be revised. And then if the board votes as a majority to make that revision, then the clerk would make those alterations. Does that sound correct, Maria?
But it wouldn't be agendized.
It would be, because it would come to the board as, the board, on the consent calendar as it did tonight. So even though it's not a correction, it is a requested amendment, is my understanding.
But it depends on the, if I feel like if it's something that we omitted as a say for instance, we're discussing today, like today's motion, right? And it was amended. And if I didn't include that, then yes, by all means, please, you can go ahead and remind me, hey, you didn't capture this. I thought we were going to include amended motions. Just want to point that out. And then yes, I would go back to the minutes and include it. If it's something as, for instance, oh, we didn't include a certain board member said, an opinion, it wasn't included, then I would refer back to what I was going to include in those minutes, and then I would still not include it as we had defined what would be included. But amendments, revised motions, amendments, clarifications, I'm sorry, not clarifications, directions to staff, feedback, why someone opposed to a motion, I will still include those. And if those are missing, then yes, we can go ahead and then, bring it to my attention that per our policy, these are to be included, but it's not listed.
And if I may add to that, this is Hillary Stevenson. The contents of the minutes are now listed in this revised policy. So if the board wishes to agendize further changes to this policy, that you would need to direct the general manager. You can use your 4 nods or however the board wants to do it, to ask the general manager to bring this policy back, right? This policy can be changed at any time by the board, but you would agendize a discussion of this policy if the full board, or 4 of you wish to further change the content of the minutes. So what's set forth here in this revised policy is how the action minutes would be prepared, unless the board further desires to make changes to this policy. I hope that's clear.
You want nods or?
I think this is just to answer Director Holman's
okay.
question.
Okay.
And then in the future, if the board is not satisfied with the format of the minutes, then we would further refine this policy.
Correct.
With a future board item.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay, we ready for a vote?
I'm sorry, I'm looking at this list again, and I'd mentioned earlier, it's like, I think it's really important for the agenda item title to be included, the agenda topic to be included. I don't see it listed here. Because again, if somebody's going to do it. Is it here?
It's not on here, but to me, it was a given because I have to put the agenda title in order to then put the motion. I would always include the agenda title, and that will be included. I just didn't include it into the policy because to me, I just felt like it was a given, but I can include it.
Okay, that would be great. And if I heard correctly, I think you would be including the cause for both positive and or aye and nay votes. So thank you.
Okay, we ready to go forward? Okay, call for a roll call vote, please.
Director Gleason,
Yes.
Director Riffle,
Yes.
President Sear,
Yes.
Director Holman, Director Kishimoto, Director McNiven.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Director Kirsten Tucker is absent.
Aren't you glad you came, Susanna?
Good to see the behind the scenes. Maria?
Yes.
And Lynn, very amazing.
Thank you, Brady.
All right, so the next item of business, I think we can put the little more quickly. Annual findings for up to 6 compensated board meetings per month. Dean's recommendations adopt resolutions making annual that more than 5 years are necessary and for the effective operation of the region.
And my apologies for the interruption. May I quickly state for board business item number 9 that there were no open comments or public comments?
President Seer, would you like any presentation on this item, or is it self-explanatory? I have to confess, I did not prepare any slides. And because the board has taken this action now, I believe this is the 5th consecutive year, it's probably fairly straightforward. But I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any, and the resolution sets forth the specific findings, generally stating that a range of between 5 to 11 meetings per month by all of you is generally required for the effective operation of the district. So that's just a finding we'll be making again this year. But let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.
Seeing none. Any public comment?
We have no public comment.
Thank you. Any deliberation? We had a pretty thorough discussion of this early on when we first adopted it, some 5 years ago. So, there's no further discussion. And call for roll call vote, please.
Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to move the general manager's recommendation. I'll second.
Okay, moved by Director Riffle, seconded by Director Gleason. Roll call beginning with Director Gleason.
Yes.
Director Riffle,
Yes.
President Seer,
Yes.
Director Holman, Director Kishimoto, yes. Director McNiven.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 6-0 with Director Christine Tucker absent.
Okay. Any committee reports? Yes. Please.
Well, did you have a list of committees, or should we just sound off? Glad to jump in.
I don't believe we have any committee reports since our last board meeting.
We had the BAE, so the BAE committee met on the 17th.
Oh, my apologies. I do not have a slide for that then.
Yeah, that's okay. We worked with our controller about the new internal auditor role. So that'll all be coming back to us actually in closed session on the 15th for that review. And also we worked with the HR team to discuss the elements of the 2025 performance review for our appointees. So will be hearing about that also during closed session. I think we had a historic.
Yeah, we had a Hawthorne's historic ad hoc meeting where staff reported on the meetings with the town of Portola Valley, and also on meetings with the prospective partners and the town planning folks. There was also some discussions the CEQA.
That's good. Thank you. I think that was all the committee reports. Right.
Right.
Okay. Public comment. Sorry, skip that. Staff report.
Good evening. Go ahead, Brian, and I'll follow you.
Okay. Good evening, board. Brian Malone, Assistant General Manager. Just wanted to give a quick update on Bear Creek Stables operations. So as of January 6th, the district assumed responsibility for the operation of the stables, and Chaparral has moved off the site. And the district contracted on a short-term basis with the Friends of Bear Creek Stables just for stable services, and that's feeding the horses twice daily and stall cleaning services once a day. The Friends also, they started operation on the 6th, and everything's run smoothly so far. The contract's for 5 months with a 1-month extension option, and that'll give us time to negotiate a potential long-term agreement, including coming back to the board with components of that and milestones as per the board direction. The Friends retained Frederico Trejo, a longtime stables employee that's continuing to work at the stables, doing some of those services. All the border agreements with Chaparral have been transferred to the districts and borders are making payments directly to the district. Boarding rates have been kept the same, but we may reevaluate that if district costs are not recouped with the current boarding fees. The district is handling the purchase of the feed from Ganado Feed and Pet Supply, who was being used previously, and we're separately contracting for manure removal after it's deposited by the employees of Friends of Bear Creek Stables. And then currently we got a nice weather window, so the crew is working on improving the upper road and the driving loop through the border area, basically some light grading and adding rock and drainage improvements. In the short term, there'll be no additional horses, and this is something that I've discussed with Friends of Bear Creek Stables. They want to set up the long-term agreement and kind of come to an agreement with the district of what the responsibilities of people boarding horses are prior to adding any more horses. So we're going to keep the current number of horses at 19 until when and if we enter into a long-term agreement. And there'll be no programming at the stables, like lessons and that sort of stuff, until we come to a long-term agreement. If there's some activity that the Friends wants to do, they would be able to do that with a district permit. So smoothly so far, and then we'll be initiating discussions to come back to the board with some guidelines for a long-term agreement.
Great. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Just briefly, there's a couple of meetings coming up next week. One is on Monday, and I think I don't know, Director McNiven might be attending. There's an open house that Supervisor Mueller is holding on the coast side on Monday afternoon. So I and a few staff members will be attending. Also, I'll be meeting with the recently new city manager for Sunnyvale as well on Monday. Any others?
When is the Sunnyvale one?
That is Monday morning. Would you like me to send you that info?
That would be wonderful.
Okay.
Could you include me too, since I've got part of Sunnyvale in my word?
Sure.
You want director comments?
Yeah, I think we should go to director comments, please. I'm going to start down this one. Margaret, do you have a comment?
No. I just looked through my calendar. There's nothing other than the meeting with Mike. Is that what you wanted to know? I was just putting nothing to report.
Committee report.
This is board. Just a very quick, oh, go ahead, Craig. Sorry. All right. I don't know if people saw, but Walter Moore has announced his retirement from Post as of January 22nd, and he will be replaced by Gordon Clark, longtime employee. So I think it's
So, you know, I have
change of transition, a little transition in our key partner.
Sam Hodder is also stepping down from,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Do they have a replacement yet?
No, that'll be a search.
Yeah.
Say the Redwoods.
Oh. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so just quickly, I went up to visit the Easy Access Trail projects at Skyline Ridge, and I thought it was really impressive. I like the surfaces that were put down. Looks very, very nice. There's some nice details, like this very nice natural covering over one of the culverts that hides the metal, and good choices on the accessible picnic tables as well. So that's a job really well done. Thank you.
Nothing else, we're adjourned at 9:32. Thank you for your patience, folks.